Sometimes you receive an invitation and the mystery it presents is so enticing you can't resist.
Welcome to Relics of the Hypnotist War. I'd like you to take your time to go through the relics, take your time to go through all of the passports we have and to examine the lives that were lost during the great Hypnotist Wars.
Relics of the Hypnotist War invites you to be part of a historical narrative that its creator, Ryan Griffith, is deliberately vague about.
I don't give anybody really any sense of what to expect. I like them to enter into the mystery. So it's really the invitation to be and enter into a narrative in every physical, emotional, psychological sense. So it felt like the ultimate verisimilitude. It's not just the artifice of this thing, but that you're feeling maybe to some extent that this is real.
A reality created through ephemera that fill a small room to its breaking point with rusty memories and fading pages of text.
Hundreds of thousands of words and images on the wall, and a lot of people are engaging with the minutiae of the images. And so people are finding meaning in the walls, juxtaposing the walls with the photographs, with the antiques. I love overstimulation. Like there's no end to the minutiae and to the degree that people can really connect with this room.
In this cluttered room, dense with the smells of yellowing paper and burning wax, we meet the curator who tries to unravel the mysteries of the lives represented by all the artifacts he's collected.
No one can recall when the hypnotists arrived. They look no different than ourselves.
These hypnotists created a sleep epidemic that the curator tells us resulted in sleep cemeteries.
There will never again be anywhere as hopeless and as beautiful as the sleep cemeteries. Row upon row, casket upon casket, box upon box, reaching the ceilings until it looked like floating bodies. The bodies looked like constellations of stars floating in the air.
The idea for Relics of the Hypnotist War came to Ryan Griffith when he was traveling in Russia and randomly met two women on the street.
They were talking to a man, and then they woke up and they were missing their purses. And they warned me that there were hypnotists on the streets of St. Petersburg, and that you should never look anyone in the eye.
Relics of the Hypnotist War asks what could happen if we have all our senses shut off and let our consciousness and conscience go to sleep.
And it just so happened that I was traveling around the world and through Turkey and through Hungary and Russia and all these sort of fascist dictators felt, and then obviously coming back to the United States in 2016, feeling that the world was falling asleep in some way.
This turns what initially seems like a curio shop escape room into an allegory or political fable for those struggling to understand why so many around the world seem to have fallen morally asleep.
And it felt like a metaphor for the time in some way. Although the narrative itself is not grounded in any time. In fact, there's a huge argument to be made that we're still in the midst of the hypnotists and we're still being put to sleep.
As we explore our surroundings, we're encouraged to find meaning in the objects we discover.
I mean, especially when you see that the handwriting or the particular idiosyncrasies of their appearance. I think that's probably just human nature to want to try to imagine and inhabit that life. Like a lot of those passports are essentially from World War II and people fleeing Nazi Germany.
But then what are the people in the Hypnotist War fleeing from? What does it all mean?
To be honest, I don't know the narrative either. There's a number of possibilities, and every time we tell this story, it's slightly different. And we really rely on the audience to help us understand or to make meaning of the piece.
Perhaps the meaning is not to be found in unraveling the mystery, but rather in being alerted to the dangers of falling asleep and surrendering to the will of the hypnotist. Then the show ends with a ritual.
Typically, we go outside and we drink wine and then we debrief the show.
Turning it into a community narrative in an attempt to understand what's happened, or more importantly, what is happening now in the real world. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.